Hi everyone, welcome to the Curious Cube. We're recording an episode at MathFest this year. We're really glad all of you could come.
Yeah, so we'll do some intros first. So hi everyone, my name is Laura. I am a rising sophomore in college. I'm from Virginia, and I plan to study math and computer science.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a rising freshman at college, and I'm also studying math and CS, and I'm from New York.
Hi everyone, my name is Isaac. I'm also starting college in the fall. I'm from Princeton, New Jersey, and like everyone else, I also plan to study math and CS.
And I'm Srinivas. I'm originally from Denver. I'm going to be a sophomore in college next year studying math and CS. And before we begin, I want to thank D. Shaw & Co. for sponsoring the recording of this episode.
Yeah, so we're here for the Curious Cube, which is the MAA student podcast. And previously, we've covered topics like AI and math, building math communities, and interviews with the International Math Olympiad team.
In each episode, you can also find segments by me, which are vlogs of different math events and competitions that I kind of show what the student experience is like.
Yeah, so a little about how we met and started this podcast, joined this podcast. So we were all students at the MAA Math Olympiad program at some point during high school. And we joined the AMC Student Podcast to stay connected to the math community and try to give back and provide like insight on how the community works, how math competitions can help you grow, both as a mathematician in person long term. And so our episodes have focused around these values. And so today, we'll just be taking questions from the audience. You can ask like, anything related to math contests, how they might impact you like in college, beyond, and it can be like even just questions for us. We're really open to anything. So.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, just raise your hand and we'll take them.
So what motivated you guys to start doing math competitions?
So we got a question from the audience, a great question, which is how did we get motivated to start math competitions in the first place? Do any of you guys want to start?
So I'd say for me, the way I got started was Math Counts, which is a middle school math contest. My middle school had like a club. There were like older students who had gone through Math Counts who were also in this club. And it was just like a very fun way for me to start competing. If you don't know, Math Counts is like a very like fast-paced, like there's a lot of like head-to-head competition and like just like a lot of ways to connect with the people around you, which maybe is like less true in some later contests you might do. So I thought it was a really enjoyable experience, and that really inspired me to continue past that. And I also met like a lot of my closest friends through just being with them, competing with them in middle school.
Yeah, so I also did math counts, but I would say I became like really interested in math competitions in high school after COVID. So I had a really great high school math team, and I think we just had a lot of fun like practicing together and doing math problems together. And I think that was the first time I saw math as sort of like this more collaborative activity instead of something you just like grind alone in your room. So I thought that was really fun, and I think that's like what motivated me to start like working really hard to like do these problems. And I think I'm really grateful for the people in that math team since they really inspired me to like work harder and to try my best.
Yeah, for sure. Math Counts was like a really fun experience. But I guess like I kind of started even before that when I kind of did like my first AMC, which was the AMC 8. And there's a lot of like really great social aspects, but the thing that kind of unites it is like the really interesting problems. Like when I was doing the AMC 8 problems, it was really different from what I was used to seeing maybe in school. Like the questions, like whenever you saw them, you would feel like so smart. You would be like, wow, this is like a huge solution path that I was able to reason through and derive from maybe like some pretty basic concepts. And it really showed you like how math is like so intricate. There's so many layers to it that you might not be able to appreciate with like maybe some like more direct problems. So that was really what like kind of got me hooked and really motivated me to keep learning and figure out some more difficult problems as well.
My answer is going to be a little different from the other three. So I started math competitions right after like the COVID lockdown started. I'm sure all of us remember that time. Not the greatest time in the world. But I guess the reason I started was I was at home, and I found a site called Art of Problem Solving. And long story short, like you're at home for like all day. I had time to like read different like Wikipedia articles, learn new concepts, just try problems without any external pressure or time pressure. And I think that's sort of where I cultivated like my passion for problem solving. And I think like math competitions, especially ones at like earlier stages in middle school, they're inherently based on like pacing and time pressure, because that may seem to generate excitement, like obviously time pressure, like excitement, all that. But I think there's also value to be taken from like just doing problems without these sort of external factors. And that's sort of how I found my passion for math and math competition problems.
What do you guys think about the Putnam? What are your like preparation routines? Do you have any like things, tips, cool problems you've seen? Yeah.
I guess we should go for people who already took the Putnam, so.
Oh yeah, just to say the question again, it was like, are you guys preparing to prepare for the Putnam and stuff? Do you have a study plan for that?
Yeah, so I took the Putnam for the first time last fall. I'd say it was a pretty good experience. In terms of like preparation, I did not do too much. Like, I just in general like have not done much like preparation for things like in college besides like my classes and like exams. So it was mostly just like a one-day thing where I just like got to see like a bunch of other people discuss the problems. It was just like a fun experience overall. Yeah, I'd say I didn't really take it with too much pressure, and I found it to be an enjoyable experience. Cool problems. Yeah, I can't remember like any off the top of my head, but I do remember like just like it's like an electric atmosphere after the test. Like a lot of people just like discussing the problems and like figuring out like cool things. So yeah.
Yeah, so I also took the Putnam for the first time last fall, and it was definitely like a pretty great experience. Like I didn't really study beforehand, I just kind of went in. But I think it's like kind of fun to just like sit with like a bunch of problems for like many hours. Like I think you don't really get to do that as much in college when you don't have math Olympiads anymore. So it's kind of good to like return to that and be able to like, I guess like rack my brain and try to like really think through a problem. And I think I saw a lot of familiar faces as well, like older people who I haven't like seen in a while. And I think it was really good to like reconnect with them. And I think it's always good to like go back to like my math Olympiad roots and sort of like flex that muscle. So it was pretty fun. It was definitely very hard. I don't think I did that well, but like I think it was a really fun experience. So I think that's what really matters.
Yeah, for sure. I think when I go to college, I definitely want to do the Putnam. A lot of things in high school are pretty hard to continue when you get into college, but I think like the Putnam is a really good way to just like get back into that feeling and that mode.
Yeah, so I also plan to take the Putnam in college. I think like on another preparation, it's like not very practical to just like spend hours a week or hours a day just like preparing specifically for the Putnam, but I think it's just or at least how I'm gonna view it is like it's a like chance to showcase like all that you've learned like throughout like middle school, high school, college, because like in order to like understand the topics that are tested in the Putnam, like I think like analysis, for example, like you need to like build up on what you've learned before, like in your classes, like outside of school. And so I don't think there's like should be any pressure or need to prepare in particular, other than maybe like trying a few tests, getting a feel for the flow of it. And yeah, I'm hoping that the Putnam will serve as like an opportunity to like for everyone who takes it just to like make connections outside of the classroom, especially like I'll be a freshman, like maybe I'll just like start talking to some random seniors who took the test, and just build that connection, and then later down the road they can help me pick courses, like just get advice as a math major. So I guess that's sort of my take on the Putnam. Yeah.
Awesome sauce.
How do you connect your experience with math contests to, let's say, open-ended research in mathematics?
Yes, the question was how do we think we can connect our math competition and math Olympiad experiences to research, especially in the field of math. So I think we have people on the panel who have done research in pure math and also more applied fields like ML, machine learning. So does anyone want to start?
Yeah, so I've done a bit of math research, like very like open-ended, long-term type projects. I would say like that's probably the most direct application of like my math contest skills that I've seen, like among like the other options of like what you can do with a math degree. Like for example, it's just like the perseverance you get from like working through like Olympiad questions. So like Olympiads are long proof-based contests that you usually do in like high school. Like a lot of those things, you just have to like sit through a problem and like basically everything you try fails, and like you just have to learn to just like keep grinding at it for a while. I say that's like the most transferable skill from contest to research. In terms of like actual content, like I don't think it's going to transfer that well. But like also like maybe like the skill of learning. Like when you do a research project, you need to spend like weeks or like months just like learning the background, and like maybe you have some experience doing that because you've spent weeks or months like preparing for this one contest. So it's mostly just like these like soft skills of like perseverance or like learning to like work at one thing for a long time.
Yeah, so this isn't really a skill per se, but just like, I guess like an experience. So I think like one aspect about research that I think is like pretty exciting is like you can do more applied work. Like you can like think about like how do you apply math to like real world problems. So for example, like last summer I was doing research at this place called the Institute for Math and Democracy. So it was like very applied work, like not very similar to what I was doing in like math contests, but I think it was like very cool to like explore this like new side of math. And having that like strong math background from these contests like enabled me to sort of find these connections in fields that like people may not be able to see otherwise. And so I think like the fun part about math is that it can be applied to a lot of different fields. It's very interdisciplinary. And I think that's what makes like math research really exciting, is that there's so many like different applications since math is used in like pretty much everything in the world. So.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with what they said, like how math like really cultivates these skills. And I think something in particular is that math really changes the way you understand things and how you like look at problems and how deep you go into them. I guess personally, I did some research in ML, which also uses a lot of math, especially like the linear algebra part, like within like neural networks and different types of models. And having that math background really like makes these components not very challenging, which might be like harder if you did not have such a strong math background. And that can also like give you kind of like a deeper, and like just learning these, you just kind of have this like deeper understanding of how these different things work.
Yeah, so I think I have like two main points. One is on like the like philosophical like I can do this side, and one is like the other's on the practical side. So I did research in pure math in discrete geometry, and I think like one of the main or like commentary that's pretty popular when you're comparing math Olympiads to math research is like math Olympiads are like little puzzles where like you have a set amount of time. So for most Olympiads, it's 4.5 hours to work on 3 questions, or in the Putnam, it's 3 hours for 6 questions. So I actually think math competitions are better at building resilience than people expect, because at least for how I trained, there are problems where like I tried them, I can't solve them, and then like I'll put them like to the side for like 2 or 3 years, and then one day I might come across them again, whether it's in like my friends working on it, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I tried this question in 9th grade, I had no idea how to do it, let me come back now. And I feel like that's like a very good analogy for research, a research project. So when I was doing my project, there's like a very specific subfield we were working on, but then within them we had like different variants of questions. And there were some variants where you find like they're a lot harder, some you might solve in a week, others, like there's still a question from like a year ago that I have no idea how to do, or a variant. And I think like being comfortable with like knowing when to give up, when to take a break on questions, which you can gain through Math Olympiad training, is a very common theme that is needed in research, no matter how brilliant you are. Like I'm sure even Terrence Tao, who we just, many of us just listened to his talk, he has hundreds of questions that he's just like churning on the side. And on the practical side, I think I was maybe a little lucky with the topic that I worked in discrete geometry. So by studying combinatorial geometry for Math Olympiads, I did get like a head start on the background that I needed for the project. And I guess like Emily said, for applied fields, it's often like a lot easier to get up to speed. Like linear algebra is big for ML, of course. I think even like some sort of physics research, like if you know group theory, well, yeah, or just have like algebraic intuition, it can help you get a head start. So yeah.
Were there people in the math community that you like aspired, or that you like looked up to while you were training?
Yeah, just to say the question again, it was a really good question. It was, was there anyone in the math community that really inspired you? I guess I can start with this one. So I guess I had this like one friend in the math community. Her name is Vivian, and she was just really inspiring because she was also very approachable, very relatable, and would kind of talk to us as friends, but also we would do like math together. And I guess that was really inspiring because I could see like the people around me really achieve really great things, and it motivated me to like also like keep doing math and keep continuing on this path.
Yeah, so I would say for me, there's somebody called Isabella. She went to my high school. She's 1 year older than me. And I think the very first time I talked to her was for journalism, since I was interviewing her for making the European Girls Math Olympiad team. And that was the first time I really talked to her, but she was really nice and she gave like really good advice. And I think that year we ended up going to the Math Olympiad program together. So that was like a really cool experience, like being able to like do math with somebody I looked up to. And even though she was like very smart and like knew a lot more things than I did, she was like very kind about it and always like made sure to help me. And I think that's like the great things about having role models, is that they're very inspiring, but they're also very approachable, and that they're often very willing to like help you and like help you like learn new things. And I think that was really great for me, especially because like she was at my high school. And so I think having somebody so close to me that I looked up to was like very motivating, since like I would see her every single day in like math team and be like, wow, like she's right there. And if I like work hard, I can also like be like her. So I think that was really cool.
Yeah, I'd say for me also it's just like the people who are like closest to me, like people who went to my high school. Like I talked about math counts earlier. Like some of these people were like my math counts coaches, and like I still like talk to them. So yeah, in general, I'd say like you can have like online role models as well. But for me, I found like just having people who like went through the exact same process as you did, just like 5 years ago, is just like really inspiring, because you can just like look directly at what they did and be like, oh, I can do that too if I just like work hard and like be like them.
I think I could also tell like a similar story about role models who are like maybe 1-2 years older than me, who lived like in my area, that we talked about math together a lot. But I'll go in a different direction. So I want to shout out the coach of my math team, Don Davis of Lehigh University. And the reason he's a role model is not necessarily because like he did math competitions when he was growing up. I think there is value in having like mentors who are at like a much later stage than you, just because they can provide a different perspective. Like sometimes I wouldn't even talk to him at our math team practices about like the problems we're working on, or just like how to get better at math contests, stuff like that. Like I would just ask about like just how he felt math competitions could fit into like my broader future. So like he helped recommend like summer programs, research programs that I could look into that might fit my background, because he knew me as my coach. And I also think just like knowing someone personally who's made it that far into like math as a mathematician. So he was a tenured professor. He's 80 now, so he's been doing it for a long time. And so just seeing how someone like that carries themselves through, I'm sure, like countless highs and lows, maybe even like burnout at some stage, but they're still going strong, still have the spirit to show up every day, show up to work, and not just be a really outstanding mathematician, but take time out of their like busy lives to run a math team for high schoolers, mentor them, check in with them, ask like, how's this going for you? How can I help you reach the next stage of your math journey? So I think that was really inspiring for me. And yeah, don't be afraid to find people like this in your community. I think it'd be way more valuable than you'd expect.
Yeah, also just to add on to that, I just wanted to say that there's a lot of people in this room who are also probably role models of other people. Like, you might not realize this, but like maybe like you're a coach or a student, and like other people in your math club probably are looking at you and be like, wow, they're such a great like person, and I think they're really amazing. So I think that you should kind of think about that, and like, so just like small gestures like encouragement, or just saying something to someone in your math team, like saying hi, even that. Sometimes like doing math can be pretty difficult, especially like after like difficult math contests, and just having these people around in your life can make a really big impact, like it did for all four of us.
Some of you mentioned trying, like in a contest, trying something, it fails, trying it, another thing, it fails again, which sounds like experimenting almost. And I think one of you mentioned luck, like being lucky that they got exposed to one area or another. And I wondered if, what role does luck and experimentation play in your thinking about, mathematics?
So I think the question was was about sort of elements of like luck and experimentation and problem solving. So how the problem solving experience maybe relates to like the spirit of experimenting, and of course how sometimes luck does play a role in if you solve a problem or not. I think I also want to bring up the point that like performance in competitions is also like based on luck. Like I think it is good to believe that like you control your own destiny, like your preparation does fully determine your result. But the reality is like luck is a part of everything. Luck is a part of life. Maybe you get a problem, an Olympiad test that year where like there's half the questions are in your worst subject. Like that's luck, right? You can't control it, but it is luck. So I think, I think you can talk about the problem solving process, but also just like the broader of like how far can I get and how luck plays a role in that.
Yeah, for sure, I agree with that. I think that like especially like Olympiads are like 3 problems per day, and because of that, your performance can have like really pretty large variance, especially like depending on like how maybe distributed your skill set is. I think experimentation in contests, that can be like, it can be pretty like hard to do it like on like contest pressure, but I do think that's like definitely a very important part of like the problem solving process. You have to kind of like keep trying new things. I actually know some people who like at the beginning of contests, they'll look at a problem and then list like 10 or 15 things they can try for that problem, and that's just how they experiment. They like take things from their list, they keep trying new things, and eventually like they'll find a path that leads to some new information or a solution.
Yeah, I would say like the guess and check method is pretty, like it's like pretty helpful sometimes on Olympiads. Like there's sometimes I like look at a problem. When you look at a problem at first, it's like, it looks very hard and there's like a lot of words and symbols and you're like, oh my God, like what do I even do? So I think like you kind of just have to like guess and check and just try different things. And I think that's like kind of the fun of it, since you don't really know what like will happen if you try this one way, but maybe it'll lead to something. And I think that's kind of like luck if you like find the right approach. But I think I used to get like a lot of imposter syndrome, like, oh, like I just got this score because I was lucky, and then like it was just like luck. But I think like there's like, because you prepare so much like in the background, and I feel like a lot of that preparation like comes through on like contest day. So I feel like it's never just luck. Like there's always like something you did beforehand. Like you learned some method that you used on that contest, on that problem. And so I think like it's kind of like this balance between like I was just like learning new things like before the contest and trying them during the contest day. And I think that's like pretty helpful. It's never just about the luck or never just about experimentation.
Yeah, going off of that, like I think there's an important distinction between like low level ideas and like high level ideas. Like you might often hear like, oh, like you will never, like the difficulty of like Olympiad problems, you'll never see the same idea twice. Well, like, you'll never see the same exact idea twice. Like, it's like in this problem, oh, you need to show that like points like A, X, and Y are collinear, like something like that. And if you realize that, then you like find it much easier to solve the problem. That's like a very specific thing that's like for that problem. There are also like high level ideas that like can motivate the low level ideas. And these things I think are like very trainable. Like the best examples I can give of this are like in combinatorics. Like you might have some intuition that like, oh, if it's like this type of problem, then I need to like sum all the things and then take their average, and then that's like a useful thing to look at because I can't understand the behavior of each thing individually. So let me instead look at their what the average looks like. And that's like a common idea that shows up like time and time again. There are a lot of ideas like this that maybe you won't even like specifically be able to write down, but your mind like sort of gains through practice. So there's like some element of luck in terms of like what like local what like low level ideas you can come up with like on the day of the contest. But then there's also a lot of stuff you can train, which is like helping you motivate those low level ideas.
Yeah, I think on like the note of like experimentation, I think Emily said this, like, I think within like contests, like actual contests, under pressure, like whether it's time pressure, just like the thought of like, oh my God, like everything's leading up to this, I have to do well. I think that can lead to tunnel vision. So I think as a practical strategy, doing like, or forcing yourself to say like, I'll write down like 5 to 10 ideas and I will try all of them before I commit to one. It's like very good for keeping you in a settled state. And as for like experimentation in like training, where you just like have like an infinite amount of time to like do whatever you want, I think there is value in trying stuff that you don't think will work, just so you know like why it doesn't work, and that can train sort of your like high level intuition, like Trinivas was mentioning. I think some people refer to it as like, or like some people think of like high level strategies as like scouting, where it's just like you're figuring out. You train like, how do I figure out what might work, versus like training, how do I get good at like computation methods, or yeah, like stuff like that. That's like hard, like core, like you call like technical stuff. And so I think like you can train this through like exercises where your goal is to try many different ways to approach a problem, not necessarily to solve it in the fastest way possible.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question was, a lot of us started like math competitions maybe during COVID or something like that. And so what is the impact of our local communities on us versus our maybe online communities?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, like I guess for me it was like I started like completely local, like with math counts. Like even AMC was like a mostly local thing. I mostly talked with people around me. I also had like a math circle in my state. The person who runs it is actually here today, which I didn't expect, but yeah, it's Silva Cheng. So yeah, I think these were all like very, like it's very good to start in person because you can talk to these people like on a daily basis, or you can like talk to your friends and like you can prepare like in a meeting at your club like every week, or like even more frequent if you want. And then like slowly, like partly due to COVID, I think maybe a lot of things became online. I also like got into online communities more, and so there was like sort of a transition there. But I still maintain those local connections, and I think those are like the most important thing that started me off.
Yeah, I think for me, I started off with like the local community like at my high school. And I think that was really, I guess, good for me since the people I was doing math with, they were also like my best friends. Like I would eat lunch with them, like we would have like our English class together or things like that. And I think like that was really fun for me since like doing math was just like one of the things we did together. It wasn't like the only thing we did. So I think it was like very good to like have those sort of natural friendships that sort of just extended to math. And I think like as I grew older, like as I went to the Math Olympiad program, and then I sort of realized there's this very rich online math community that I didn't even know existed. Like I feel like I just never bothered to look online. But I think there was such a rich community of people online, and I thought that was like really amazing. And I think that was super cool to me. Like, I started writing blog posts online, like posting videos, and I think it was really cool to connect with people that way online. And so I think there's like really great things about both the online math communities and local math communities. And I think if you don't have like a local math community, I think you can find a lot of like comfort and great people in the online math community. And so I think there's like a lot of amazing people out there that you can always talk to and connect to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think something that's interesting to think about is how like your online communities kind of become your local communities like as time goes on. Like actually today at MathFest, there's a lot of people I met online at first. Like I met Isaac online in maybe like 2021, and now like so many of like the people I met online are here in person now. And I think that's a really cool thing about the math community is that people you meet like through random places end up becoming your classmates or other people at your camps, and they just like become your circle like over the years. And I think that's really cool how it's able to unify us together. And I guess another thing that's really nice about the online math communities is how like the cool thing about MAA contests is that they're like global. And so during these contests, that's when like the online community will kind of like reunite again and like just like talk about these problems. So I think the online community is, I don't know if it's underrated, but I think it's really powerful. And I encourage you guys to explore more if you guys have not yet.
Yeah, so like I said, I started in math competitions during COVID. So for obvious reasons, there is basically no in-person community. So for me, I really agree with the point of your online community becomes your in-person community, whether it's through traveling to events like this, whether it's going to in-person math contests, a lot of which are held on college campuses. So I'd encourage people to look into what college competitions are near you. And also just going to college, like within your department, like there's like a stratification in college, right? Like you're in a department, everyone who's there is studying like basically the same subject as you. So I think that can help bring people together. And I think when we use the term online communities, like a lot of people this is like a very abstract term. So I think like to provide some like concreteness to it, I think a lot of the adults may be able to attest to like the workforce has migrated to Slack. And so what math communities and a lot of younger people are doing is they're migrating to Discord, because like you can have like hundreds or even thousands of people in like the same server around a themes, like for instance like a math competition server, whereas like in like a text message you can have like, I don't know what the limit is, but it's not very high. And so I think that's one big outlet for where math kids, people who are interested in math, can meet each other. And there's also just like other online resources, forums, and things of that like, yeah.
I'm curious, so you mentioned the Math Olympiad type problems and Putnam problems, and those are all kind of a similar thing. And they're sort of the thing that the MAA is good at providing for people. And I'm wondering if y'all have like things that you wish the MAA would do, that the things that the MAA does not do to support your growth as mathematicians that you think they might be able to, but they just haven't thought of it yet. And that's a hard question. We can talk about it outside.
No, it's fine. Just make sure we don't get fired after this. Yeah, to repeat the question. So I think the question was, the MAA does a very good job of running contests like the AMCs, the Olympiads, Amy, Putnam, but what are some other things that could perhaps also help cultivate our growth as young mathematicians? So I think one of the best parts of the MAA is the Math Olympiad program. Like they sponsor like you to go to a place for 3 weeks where you can meet other people who are really passionate about math, who have worked really hard to get there, and are just like really like brilliant, but also so nice and willing to help others around them. I wish more people got to do that. Like the capacity, I think when I went, was like 60 US students and 20 internationals. internationals from like other countries who did very well in their country's Olympiads, and they have like a exchange program with the U.S., a one-way exchange program. I wish like everyone who made like USUMO or USAJMO could do that. But I mean, like, it's obviously very hard to fund all that. But yeah, I think that's what the MAA is best at doing. And I guess like my unrealistic wish is that hundreds or even thousands of students could do that. Or maybe it is realistic. Hopefully D.E. Shaw and co is watching this. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Isaac's point. And I think a really cool thing that MAA is doing now is that USAMO testing centers are now unified. Like now there's like several college sites where now like math people can meet in person through these Olympiads, which is really cool because like you don't get to like meet people super often. I guess maybe other than that, something that is kind of hard to implement is that like in some way making the MAA contest more approachable. I guess for some like maybe some random like student or like an average student, seeing an AMC 10 question might be like really intimidating, especially because like they've probably never seen like geometry of that form or like such long word problems. And maybe like less words or more conceptual puzzle-based solving for them would be helpful, or contests of that form. Of course, it's like kind of hard because like it's kind of hard to make a puzzle contest and also like tie math in at the same time. But I think that will help people like get into math competitions and like be a stepping stone to maybe like the AMC type contest format.
Yeah, I would say one way is, so I know Emily and Isaac talked about like bringing more students to MAA, but if that's unreasonable, I think it would be cool to have like local celebrations, like celebrations for like people who do like pretty well but maybe can't make it to like the Math Olympiad program. Like I think it's still very like valid and important to like celebrate like all the successes, and I feel like unless you make it to a very high level right now, there's not like much successes or awards you can get. So I think having local celebrations would be like really powerful and inspiring and motivating, especially for younger students. And then one aspect about contest structure that I think could be improved on is, I think there's like a pretty big disconnect between like the computational problems and the Olympiad problems. Like you go from doing like a problem in maybe 10 minutes and then you get like a number to doing a problem in like many hours. And I think that's kind of a hard transition. So I've done like Canadian contests before, and one thing they do is they have like kind of like these like baby steps of problems. Like there's like part A, part B, part C, and then part A is like a very like mini like proof problem, and then part B is like a little harder proof problem. Maybe you're generalizing like the idea from part A. And I think that was really helpful for me when I was starting out, like being able to like follow these steps and get to like a final proof instead of just like looking at this like one problem being like, oh my god, I have like no clue where to start, and then I'm supposed to write like 5 pages to like solve this problem, and not knowing that. I think like having a like stronger transition would definitely help, especially for people who are just starting out with like this new like proof style math.
Yeah, I'll definitely echo all the other points. Maybe like one thing I can add is I think like the way like MAA contests teach you math is just like seems a lot better to me than the way a lot of like public math classes function. And I wish the MAA would like work more like closely with maybe teachers or people to like integrate the same type of stuff. Maybe not like directly like putting AMC problems in like your high school geometry curriculum, but like some like smaller version of that where like you have like just a different way of thinking about the same concepts that you would be taught, but in like a more creative format, I guess. Again, like I have no clue how hard this would be to implement, but yeah.
You mentioned social media a little bit in one of the answers, and I wondered what math social media do you like? Because like I've noticed Math Stack Exchange and Math Overflow, there's some really good content there, but like on Quora, like I feel like the algorithm is pushing me to the same things over and over again. So I just wondered, like personally, what do you like in the online social media world?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the question was that what are some like social media forms of math or media forms of math that you might enjoy? And I think for me personally, I really enjoy like the very visual, like media that shows how math works. For example, like one channel I like is 3 Blue, 1 Brown. They have these like really cool animations, and they kind of bring the equations and concepts into like real life by like showing how they work visually. Because personally, I think I'm a pretty visual learner, and these types of media like really help give me a different perspective of learning these things, which I think is really cool.
I think we should let Laura talk for the longest because she actually does social media, and it's like, I think some of the content is related to math. But I think, like you said, like Math Stack Exchange, I'm pretty sure like anyone who's done undergrad in math or beyond like knows what that is probably like looked across the site just like in like desperate just to find like an explanation in a topic. I have personally. I think text-based websites like Math Stack Exchange, like Art of Problem Solving, or even Quora, which I don't use, but I'm sure has some great explanations. I feel like we can find a way to modernize them, or at least advertise them better to people who are in the know of these. So whether it's collaborating with like YouTube channels to promote like Math Stack Exchange, like I'm sure like 3 Blue 1 Brown has a very big platform within the STEM creator community, not just math. Stuff like Numberphile, which is another YouTube channel that is pretty popular. They're great at visual stuff, but I feel like if we could work with them so that they promote like the use of like more concrete like text-based platforms, that'd be really good. Maybe something along the lines of like, here we bring the concepts to life, but like if you want a more deep technical understanding, or another way to process the information, like here's some places you could go to, and that way everyone can build each other up. Yeah.
Yeah, so I do quite a bit of content creation, and in high school I vlogged a lot of the math competitions I went to. So maybe not like, I guess like not showing the like hardcore math specifically, but I think it was like a really good way to like expose younger students to like, oh, like math is really fun, it's like really social, and there's like all these fun experiences you can do. And then I also do like, I've also been solving math like on my like TikTok channel. So I think like recently I did like a MIT integration bee problem where I just like solved it on a piece of paper, and I think that was really fun. Like I think students want to see people who like them doing math. Like I think a lot of the times when you look on like YouTube or things like that, like the people who are doing the math problems are like maybe teachers, maybe professors, people who are definitely like older than them. But I think there's a lot of value in seeing somebody like you with like a similar age, like, oh, like they're doing like these really interesting problems and they're my age, so I like can also be able to do like these really cool problems. And I think that's kind of what I try to do with like my content creation, is to like show students that like math is really interesting. Like a lot of young people find math really interesting, and even though it's like pretty hard, it can be explained in a really fun, like easily understandable way. And I think being able to provide that experience is like really valuable, and I hope to like show like younger students like in high school and maybe college that they can also like do really interesting math and like be able to solve it. So
Yeah, I think we're out of time for today. But yeah, thank you so much for all the great questions. We had a great time being here today recording at MathFest. We hope to see you all around later.